In the cold silence of the upper atmosphere, something moves. Unseen, unheard, deadly. It doesn't just fly, it hunts. Meet the Su-57, NATO codename Felon, Russia's first ever fifth-generation stealth fighter, a machine forged not just from titanium and carbon fiber, but from ambition, desperation, and the ghost of a fading superpower. But to understand the Su-57, you have to rewind the clock, back to a time when Russia was falling and desperately needed something to rise. It was the 1990s. The Soviet Union had just collapsed. Its military-industrial complex was in ruins. Once mighty jet programs were being scrapped, engineers unpaid, hangars empty, but amid the ashes of that broken empire, one dream refused to die. The dream of building a fighter jet that could rival anything America had. A jet that could out-stealth the F-22, outmaneuver the F-35, and resurrect Russia's dominance in the skies. That dream became the PKFA program. In Russian, it stood for Perspektivny Aviačny Complex Frontovoy Aviatsiai, or Prospective Aviation Complex for Frontline Air Forces. The mission was clear: create a multi-role, super-maneuverable, stealth-capable fighter to lead Russia's Air Force deep into the 21st century. In 2002, two aviation giants, Mikoyan MiG and Sukhoi, competed to win the contract. Mikoyan's design was ambitious, but clunky. Sukhoi's vision? Sleek, agile, lethal. By 2004, Sukhoi was declared the winner. The prototype will be known as T-50. The future Su-57 was now officially in motion, but the road ahead was anything but smooth. The world was watching. And in 2010, after years of silence, secrecy, and speculation, the T-50 finally took the skies. Its first flight lasted just 47 minutes, but it sent shockwaves across the globe. Russia was back, and it had built something terrifying. The Su-57 wasn't just designed to fight. It was designed to dominate. Twin engines, stealth profile, super cruise ability, and supermaneuverability unmatched by any Western jet. Where America's F-22 relied on stealth to stay invisible, the Su-57 would use stealth, speed, and acrobatics to strike like lightning. It was built to evade radar, engage multiple enemies at once, dogfight at impossible angles, and survive deep inside hostile territory. But how? Let's break it down to the naked eye. The Su-57 looks like a blend of stealth and aggression. Sharp edges, canted tail fins, internal weapons bays. It's a shadow in the sky, but not invisible. Unlike the F-22 or F-35, the Su-57 isn't purely stealth-focused. Russia took a different path. Instead of chasing total invisibility, they balanced stealth with agility. Radar-evading features are there, like radar-absorbing coatings, internal weapon storage, and minimized heat signature. But the Su-57 isn't a ghost. It's a panther, silent but not unseen, because Russia doesn't believe in hiding. It believes in striking at its core. The Su-57 is wired with advanced electronics. Its N036 Bielka radar system uses AESA technology active electronically scan array, allowing the jet to track up to 60 targets at once. Yes, 60. It also features L-band radar arrays in its wings, a potential game changer that could detect stealth aircraft like the F-35. In theory, it can see the invisible, and with infrared search and track IRSD sensors, it doesn't rely on radar alone. That means even if you try to jam it, the Su-57 can still find you by heat signature. Its cockpit is modern. Touchscreens, heads-up displays, voice controls designed to make the pilot part of the machine. But the real secret, it may soon fly without a pilot at all. The Su-57's agility is almost unnatural. Thanks to 3D thrust vectoring, it can move like liquid in the sky. Bank, roll, flip, yaw, turn inside its own smoke trail, perform the Cobra maneuver, stall midair, spin like a leaf, then fire a missile while floating backwards. No Western jet dares do this in combat. The Su-57, it was designed for it. Why? Because in close combat, stealth fades, but maneuvering wins. But with all this brilliance came problems. The Su-57 was supposed to fly with brand new ISDALI 30 engines. Super powerful, super efficient. capable of supercruise, but those engines still not ready, so the early Su-57s used older AL-41F1 engines, a stopgap that limited performance. It was like putting a Ferrari body on a Toyota engine. Russia promised the real engines would arrive by 2025. Until then, the Felon was flying, but not at full power for years. It was just a prototype, a ghost that haunted air shows and news cycles. Analysts debated it. Generals feared it. Critics mocked it. But no one truly knew what the Su-57 could do until it entered a war zone in early 2018. The world was stunned. Russia had deployed 2 Su-57s to Syria, a real battlefield, not a training ground. Why? To test a jet in live combat conditions, to gather data, and to send a message. The Su-57 flew multiple sorties over Syria, performing reconnaissance, testing its radar, and dropping precision-guided bombs that struck targets and slipped away. But what truly mattered wasn't what it hit. It was what it survived. The skies over Syria were crawling with danger F-16s, Israeli air defenses, radar tracking stations, drones, yet the Su-57 danced through them all. Not a scratch. The test was brief, but the message was loud. The Felon is ready to fight in Western military culture. Every Russian fighter gets a code name. MiG-29, Fulcrum Su-27, Flanker, but the Su-57, they called it Felon, a criminal, a rogue, a threat. Some say it was mockery. Others say it was respect. But one thing's clear. The West knew it had to take this jet seriously. Still, controversy followed. Analysts criticized the Su-57 stealth, claiming it couldn't match the F-22 or F-35. They pointed to its exposed engine nozzles, its radar cross-section, its delayed avionics. Some called it a paper tiger. Others said it was too expensive to produce, and yet Russia continued building slowly, quietly, relentlessly. To understand the Su-57, you must understand Russian air strategy. Where the U.S. emphasizes precision and stealth, Russia emphasizes survivability, speed, and raw aggression. The Su-57 is built not just to fly solo, but to fight as part of an integrated system, backed by ground-based radar, coordinated with electronic warfare units, supported by hypersonic missiles like the KH-47M2 Kinzhal, linked to UAVs like the stealthy Okhotnik B S-70 Hunter. It's not just a plane. It's the spearhead of a new air doctrine. In 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, a brutal, chaotic conflict, with the whole world watching. And once again, the Su-57 entered the battlefield, but this time, it didn't dive into dogfights. It operated from long range, launching standoff missiles from deep inside Russian airspace. Why? Because the skies over Ukraine were saturated with Western air defenses, Patriots, NASAMS, infrared seekers. Sending the Su-57 into close combat would be risky. Instead, it became a sniper, not a swordsman. Reports claimed it used stealth to avoid detection, struck targets with precision, and coordinated with other assets using network-centric warfare. Was it successful? That depends who you ask. Russia says yes. The West says it's propaganda. But satellite images show Su-57 stationed at forward air bases. So whether you believe it or not, the Felon is flying real missions in real wars. And war, victory is one thing. But in business, victory means sales. Russia didn't just build the Su-57 to fight for itself. It built it to sell to friendly nations, allies, and maybe even rivals of the West. And at first, there were big dreams. Russia's first major bet, India. The two countries agreed to co-develop a version of the Su-57 for the Indian Air Force. It would be called the FGFA, Fifth Generation Fighter Aircraft. Billions were pledged. Engineers collaborated. But after years of delays, cost overruns, and frustration, India walked away. Why? Because the IAF had serious concerns. The Su-57 stealth wasn't stealthy enough. The cockpit felt outdated. Radar visibility was too high. The engines weren't new. And worst of all, Russia wouldn't share enough technology. It was a brutal blow, not just financially, but diplomatically. The Su-57 had lost its biggest customer before it even entered full production. Then came the manufacturing nightmare. Originally, Russia planned to build hundreds of Su-57s by 2025, but reality hit hard. Between 2010 and 2020, only a handful of prototypes were ready. Funding was tight, sanctions were biting, and in 2019, tragedy struck. A brand new Su-57 crashed during a test flight. The cause reported to be a flight control failure. The crash shook confidence. Even Russia's Ministry of Defense grew cautious. Only in late 2020 did the first serial production Su-57 finally get delivered. By 2023, the total number of operational Su-57s was still in the single digits, and the target of 76 jets by 2028 remained uncertain still. Russia kept pushing, advertising the Su-57 at international arms expos, from MAKS to Dubai, promising it to nations like Algeria, reportedly signed on for 14 jets. Vietnam rumored interest. Turkey flirted with it after F-35 tensions. Iran reportedly in talks. Myanmar said to be considering. But these deals mostly rumors. Few confirmed because many countries fear buying a jet with limited production, unproven stealth, and heavy sanctions baggage. And yet, one silent ally began to watch very closely: China, with its own J-20 Mighty Dragon. Watch the Su-57 unfold. On paper, the Su-57 and J-20 are competitors, but behind closed doors, China has quietly purchased Su-35s from Russia. They've studied Russian tech, shared ideas, imitated designs. Some reports suggest China may buy a few Su-57s, not for combat, but for reverse engineering. And that brings us to the real game to race for sixth-generation dominance. Despite all its delays and limitations, Russia sees the Su-57 not as an end, but beginning it's evolving into a family of systems. The Su-57M, an upgraded variant with improved stealth and engines. The S-70 Okhotnik B, a loyal wingman stealth drone, fly alongside. New hypersonic missile integration. AI-assisted combat systems. Potential pilot optional mode. The idea created an ecosystem where the Su-57 leads a swarm of lethal, semi-autonomous assets blending stealth, speed, and swarm tactics into a single fist, a 21st century fist ready to punch through tomorrow's defenses. The Su-57 is not just an aircraft. It's a symbol of ambition, of revival of a nation that refuses to be grounded. But how does it compare to its rivals? How does the Felon, Russia's sharpest sword, stack up against the titans of Western air power? The F-22 is a legend, the world's first true fifth-gen stealth fighter. Operational since 2005, invisible to radar, deadly in dogfights. In a one-on-one battle, the F-22 wins on stealth, hands down. It has superior radar cross-section, lower heat signature, and better battlefield invisibility, but the Su-57 is more agile, with better 3D thrust vectoring. If the dogfight goes long and visual contact is made, the Su-57 could outmaneuver the Raptor. But will it ever get that close? That's the gamble. The F-35 is a tech monster, a stealth jet, a data sponge, a flying command center. It's less about dogfighting, more about network-centric warfare. F-35 has better sense of fusion, situational awareness, and electronic warfare. But the Su-57 is faster, more maneuverable, and carries more air-to-air weapons. F-35s work best in packs. Su-57s, built to fight solo or lead drone swarms. The F-35 is a scalpel. The Su-57, a combat knife with teeth. The Chinese J-20 is often compared with the Su-57. Both were born in the 2000s. Both are shrouded in secrecy. Both are still evolving. But they're very different philosophies. J-20 favors long-range missile kills. Su-57 is designed for close-in dominance. J-20 is stealthier, but less agile. Su-57 is more versatile, better in visual dogfights. In short, the J-20 is a hunter. The Su-57 is a brawler. It's not just a jet. It's a bridge between past and future. Built by a nation that values brute power, raw maneuverability, and battle-tested engineering refined through conflict, Forged in economic fire and tempered by global scrutiny, is it perfect? No is a match for the F-22. Not always will it ever be mass-produced like the F-35. Unlikely, but that's not the point. The Su-57 was never meant to be Western. It was meant to be Russian. Fast, fierce, flawed, but fearless despite sanctions, delays, crashes, and criticisms. The Su-57 is still flying, still evolving, still entering service, one jet at a time. It may not dominate the skies by numbers, but it shapes strategy, sparks fear, and influences doctrine. In the grand chessboard of air power, the Su-57 is not a pawn, it's a wild card, a jet you can't ignore, a jet you can't predict, and perhaps that's its greatest strength. As sixth-generation fighters rise, with lasers, AI pilots, and drone wings, the Su-57 stands as the last of a dying breed, a machine still built for pilots. For maneuver fights, not just button pushes. For battles where skill still matters more than code, it's not a ghost, it's not a robot, it's a predator living, breathing, flying, and for now it still roams the skies.